What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Aftersound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here on this channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday morning, so come by and say hello. All right, guys, I was having a conversation on a recent live stream about the liquidity pools, or should I say the lack of liquidity in these pools, and how every time I'm trying to make any kind of transaction, especially off-chain, right, so either on the BNB chain or Ethereum, for significant amounts of capital, it's very difficult to get in. Now, for most of us, we're used to, if you're like anything but a whale in this game, and I would say a majority of us are like not real whales, I would say that every transaction that we're doing, especially because it's on Hive, I mean, we're selling like penny cards, right? We're selling penny cards. We're doing, trading 1,000 DEC here and there. It's not much, but if you do want major money, large sums of money coming into the game, we do have to find a way to make it easier for people to come in through these liquidity pools without it being major slippage, major price impact, and something that just is a huge deterrent for these whales to really come in. So the thing is, we can look at all these and say, well, SPS BNB, this is 850,000, SPS ETH, that's 800,000, right? Like, it's not a small amount of money, but at the same time, you look at the total value locked on some of these larger chains, and it is in the millions, the multi-millions, the tens of millions. And that's what makes it easy for whales to go in and out. So we need to find ways to increase these the amount of liquidity here. Now, there's a couple of solutions that we can go to, right? The first and probably most practical in some ways, just because it doesn't require anything except a proposal, is have the DAO start providing more liquidity. Now, here's the thing. The DAO is sitting on a lot of capital, right? And there's a good amount of SPS in there. There's a good amount of DEC in there. We can start to use that in a positive way. And I know people will look at that and say, well, then you're kind of taking what's locked in the DAO and recirculating it out into the rest of the ecosystem, which is true, but it's only true when there are transactions. So if, for example, the DAO is putting SPS, for example, right, into a liquidity pool, the only way that it's going to come out of that liquidity pool and into a bunch of other people's wallets is if people are buying SPS, right? The liquidity pool will decrease in the quantity of SPS the more that it's purchased. Therefore, the price is going up. So that would actually be a net positive in many ways. Now, obviously, yes, when they sell, it goes back into the pool, but the DAO would still hold that same amount of liquidity, or the percentage of liquidity overall. So I'm not as opposed to the DAO providing more liquidity. In fact, I think it should. That would be an active way in which it can help the ecosystem overall. And again, we're sitting on several $1 million worth of value. We really should consider if this is something that is worthwhile. And especially while SPS is low, maybe this is the time in which we take some of that SPS and say, we'll take the price hit for selling half of it to jump into the ETH pool or the Hive pool or the BNB pool. Now, the other way that this can be solved is by increasing rewards, right? So we could incentivize people by increasing the APR here. And there's two ways to do this. It'll be like a 2A and a 2B. The 2A is we find ways, or we start using more SPS. We start giving out more SPS overall. Or, as I've said in the past, for example, you could consolidate the DEC BUSD and SPS BNB pools simply by eliminating DEC. Like if we don't need DEC pools on either Ethereum or BNB, we can just have it be that people buy SPS from the ETH pool, from the Ethereum pool, from the ETH pool or the BNB pool, and bring that in game, because DEC does not have any intrinsic value on any other chain outside of Hive, right? When you bring it onto Hive, when you bring it in game, that's the only time you can actually use DEC. Other times, you're just kind of arbitraging away. If you really wanted to transfer value in and out, you should be selling your DEC to buy SPS and then using that to transact back and forth. Now, will that create potential like single points of failure? Yes, it could. That's obviously something that shouldn't be overlooked. But at the end of the day, the DEC SPS pool has a good amount of liquidity in it. We could add a lot more very easily to that through the DAO, and then remove the DEC BUSD pool, for example, and then take that SPS, right, about 11.3%, and add it onto the SPS BNB pool. Now, of course, you'd probably get this liquidity that would essentially follow it over, right? So we would be over a million, we'll call it in total value locked here, or total liquidity value. But the APR would also be at what, 36, almost 37%. And again, you could do the same thing with the SPS, ETH, and DEC DAI pool, pushing that to 34, 35%. Again, these are small things, right, that we could do. You could also, in a way, just add more SPS, right? We could vote for the DAO to add more SPS overall to each of these pools as rewards. Now, keep in mind, we're not using the full, I think it's like 7.5 million SPS per month. We set aside maybe 1 million or 2 million, something like that per month, just in case we had any other chains that would pop up. So we've actually been we've actually been like under distributing when it comes to the liquidity pools. Now, here's the thing. If you do end up giving more SPS out, that's just actually going to increase the amount of supply that's out there, as well as increase the sell pressure that happens on each individual token, because now people are receiving more. And in order for them to either take their ice cream money, right, if they want to take their profits from investing, or even do something positive for the ecosystem, like selling half of it in order to reinvest, right, in order to add the liquidity back in, it's still going to be a massive amount of sell pressure. So there's no like right or wrong answer here. Obviously, each of these has their positives and negatives. And then finally, the 2B, and this is not something that we can necessarily do, but it would be a fantastic outcome, would be actually getting the flywheel in motion, because the APR here is determined by the value, mostly in part for the value of SPS. So if SPS starts to do multiples, that's when the APR could get very interesting. Now, with the SPS BNB and SPS ETH pools, those, you know, in a way, are not going to have the same kind of increase. So, for example, if SPS were to double in price, we wouldn't see a double in the APR. We'd probably see, again, I'm just doing rough math here, but we'd probably see like a fourth of a percent. Sorry, not a fourth of a percent, but like a 25% gain in the overall APR. Again, because SPS is half of that pool. But going to the DEC BUSD pool, for example, and I've said this in the past, right? I've said this in the past, so I'm kind of rehashing this here. Since SPS is being given out and it's not one of the primary tokens, if SPS were to double in value, this APR would literally jump to 22%. If SPS were to, I don't know, 5x in value, all of a sudden this would be paying out. So I know I made an argument against having the DEC BUSD pools earlier, but here's an argument that could be for it. So I'm not trying to like tell people what we should do. I'm just saying that there's a lot of options here, and not all of them have. Some of them have benefits. Some of them have. Let's put it this way: some of them have benefits. Some of them have drawbacks. At the end of the day, we just need more liquidity. And so I think this is a conversation worth starting to figure out how we can do that to make it easier for the whales in this community, and more importantly, maybe outside of the community that want to bring capital in. We need to figure out a way to make it easier for them. So that's just some thoughts that I want to share with you about the liquidity pools, about the APR and returns there. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I know this is not game related. This is very much focused on the DeFi side of things. But if we do want to see large sums of capital coming in and participating in the ecosystem, this is something that we should consider. And the DAO has considerable funds to be able to help us do some of the actions that I was laying out earlier. Or we can just hope and pray that the flywheel eventually kicks off and adds some value to it. But that is all I have for you guys in this video. I'll catch you all in the next one and see you around the game. Take care.